Hi guys, this is Shayna from YumiYarns.com, and we have our second to last video for our toe-up socks today. So we've already done the leg and the heel, foot, the toe, with all that happened in the toe. And today we are going to work on our ribbing. So I'm going to scooch these yarns out. And because I have a contrast heel, I wanted to kind of make it seem like everything was intentional. So I'm actually going to do a contrast colored cuff for my sock also. Normally I like to do, if I'm doing contrast, I like to do contrast heel, toe, and cuff. But because there was so much that needed to be shown and that needed to happen with the toe, in this one I did just leave the toe as is because I wanted to be sure to use that lighter colored yarn so you could see the stitches really well for all of the tutorials that were included in that video. The heel had a lot too, and you can see the stitches pretty well, but there was a lot of tricky bits with making sure that the stitches were facing the right way and everything that I wanted to make sure you saw. So I left my toe as is, and I think they'll look really nice with just the contrast heels and cuffs. And you don't have to do contrast if you don't want. You can do them all one color, you can do stripes, you can do whatever you want that way. They're your socks. So I wanted to show you guys, in the last video I had mentioned that a cheater way, if you don't want to actually have to measure how long your leg is to get a good mid-leg sock, is to knit your leg until you start getting to where your toe shaping is. My toe shaping starts about here, which is about, I don't know, half inch up, an inch up from where my needles are. I'm going to start my cuff now because I'm following the pattern that I wrote for you guys, but legs, really, you can stop when you're ready to stop. And if you do make them go higher so that they're more like knee-length socks, just remember you will need to add in some calf shaping or some ribbing or something to make them fit over your calves. But we are done with the legs. Hooray! Now we're onto the cuff, and then the bind off is our last video for this week. So today we'll do the ribbing on the cuffs, tomorrow we'll do the bind off. And I'm going to switch over to my contrast color. So I'm just going to break this yarn, and I'm at the beginning of a new round. So I've got my yarn there. Here's my contrast color, which again, I'm using Suburban Stitcher Sock Yarn. This is her Clean Slate colorway. And this is also Suburban Stitcher. And this is her Sea Smoke colorway. And it's really pretty. It's like this white with gray and greeny blue flecks. Like, it's just super pretty. I love how it's knitting up into this sock, and I love the way it looks with the Clean Slate. So I'm really excited about these socks. So we're going to get going here with our ribbing. So since we'll be doing a 1x1 rib, which is knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, I'm actually going to do a single round where it is just straight knit stitches. So I'm going to start by just knitting the first stitch, and then for those of you who haven't seen it, I'm going to show you how I knit in my ends as I go. I've already included this once or twice in the tutorials for these socks, so go ahead and just skip ahead if you're not interested. But this is how I do it, so I don't have to weave in ends later. So I'm going to take my contrast tail and like that. So I'm going to slow that down. Sorry, that was really fast. So I'm acting like I'm going to knit the next stitch. I grab my contrast color, my main color I guess, wrap it over top of the needle so that it's going the wrong direction. Then I'm going to grab my actual color that I'm going to knit with, wrap it the correct way around the needle, bring the main color over and off so that it actually wraps around the working yarn, bring the working yarn through, and off. You'll see there's my tail right there. And then I just knit the next stitch, and that secures the tail. Another way you can do it, insert your needle as if to knit, wrap your tail over your working yarn and down so that it's literally just laying on top of your working yarn. Grab your working yarn, bring it through, finish your stitch, and then knit your next stitch. See? Your tail is basically invisible and it's already woven in. So I'm just gonna keep going here quick. We'll get that woven in. If you notice, I'm not weaving my other one at this time. Sometimes I will weave both the tail for the new yarn and the tail for the yarn that I cut. I'll just do 2 strands at once to get them both woven in at the same time. I didn't want to do that today because I didn't want to confuse anyone. And that's good enough. That's about 2 inches that I've gotten woven in. So I'm just going to quick knit across here. And then we're just going to play a game of pretend on the next needle because I don't think you guys care to see me just sitting here knitting and chatting at you aimlessly while I knit an entire round. So we're going to pretend that I have knit all the stitches in the next round. So here's my contrast row, all done and knit, and normally I would do this half of the stitches in knits also, but I just wanted to show you guys one by one ribbing. Really easy. All that means is you're going to knit 1 stitch, and you're going to purl 1 stitch, knit 1 stitch, oops, purl 1 stitch, knit, purl, knit, purl. And you'll be able to see, this is kind of the other benefit of doing it before I knit my round. And this is why we want to do a full round of knitting in the new color before you start doing your ribbing. See those purl stitches, those little bumps that are sticking out? Those will stay like that, and they, depending on the yarns you're using, they might be rather evident when you're doing the ribbing. It'll look a lot more seamless if you have a full round in your contrast color before you start doing your knit 1, purl 1 ribbing. And all that ribbing is just alternating knit and purl stitches so that your fabric actually like kind of cinches together, and it becomes more elastic, because when you alternate between knit stitches and purl stitches, you get a little bit extra yarn in between each stitch. It's like a minute amount, but it's enough that it adds to the elasticity that yarn already has, especially wool yarn. So it'll stretch and go back and retain its shape a lot better, which makes it perfect for cuffs. So I'm gonna keep going. I'm actually going to take these ones out and finish knitting my first round in my contrast color, and then I will be knitting around in the 1 by 1 ribbing. And since these are adult size socks, I'm going to be working about 1 inch of cuff. And again, it's kind of like the legs. You can really make the ribbing on your cuffs as long or short as you want. You can do 2 by 2 ribbing. You can do, you know, all sorts of different kinds of ribbing. You can do patterned ribbing, all sorts of fun things. So it's really, really versatile. You just want to make sure that you have enough ribbing to actually hold up your socks. So like for kids' socks, which are generally smaller, I'll usually do about 1/2 inch of ribbing. And then for adult socks, I'll usually do about 1 inch of ribbing. But again, you can go bigger or smaller, however suits what you're looking for. But yeah, so I'm going to finish this up, get my contrast ribbing all ready for you guys for tomorrow's video. And tomorrow we're going to do our bind off, which does take a little bit of a special technique since we're working toe up and you want to be able to put your socks on your foot. You want it to be stretchy enough to get over your foot, but you also want it to be comfortable enough that they'll stay up, and you want them elastic enough so that it will basically cinch around your leg and keep your socks in place. So come back tomorrow and we'll have that video and we'll finish up our toe up socks. And then the day after, we have a new pattern for these socks for you for free over at yumiyarns.com. If you have any questions, you can always comment below. Let me know your thoughts. Like, subscribe the video if you've been enjoying these. That really helps my channel. And yeah, I appreciate you guys being here. Thank you so much, and you guys have a great day and happy knitting.